The Tale of Lead, a lesson in utility and caution. We can learn a lot about ourselves and our world by considering the things that make up the world. As we enter another phase, let us take a look at its namesake and learn the lesson of the dangers of the path of least resistance. Lead, a soft and ductile yet heavy metal, carries with it a dangerous streak. Known for its malleability, it is easy to work with and, surprisingly, has a sweet taste. One that has enticed ancient civilizations to incorporate it into various aspects of daily life. However, we now understand that lead is a neurotoxin, a substance that poses severe health risks, particularly to the nervous system. Astonishingly, even in ancient Greece, people were aware of its dangers, yet its allure proved far too strong to resist. Today, lead remains an integral part of our world, teaching us a crucial lesson. Even hazardous materials can be invaluable if we understand them well enough to harness their properties safely. This story of lead reminds us to plan for the unexpected, for in doing so, we can turn even the most dangerous elements to our advantage. To truly absorb the lessons lead offers, we must delve into its history, understand its properties, and learn from both its benefits and its dangers, so that much like a Thum, we can understand it on a primal level and truly live the unleaded life. The story of lead begins not with deliberate search for this metal, but as a byproduct for other pursuits, much like margarine, which was initially created with no purpose, but found one as a butter substitute, despite not actually being all that much better. In the beginning, lead wasn't sought after for its own sake. Instead, it was often found in conjunction with silver, a precious metal that drove much of the mining activities in ancient times. Lead is a post-transition metal, the heaviest of the stable elements. While it is relatively non-reactive, lead will oxidize, forming a dull gray patina when exposed to air. This characteristic makes it useful in various applications, such as protecting us from the decay of heavier elements. Like a protective older sibling, lead shields us from outside dangers, even as it carries risks of its own. Because of its association with silver, lead was collected in Asia Minor during the pursuit of this more valuable metal. However, once collected, people had it and needed to find a use for it, and so began searching for uses for this soft, gray metal. The Roman era, plumbing and poisoning. Lead found its first significant application during the reign of the Roman Empire. The Romans used lead extensively for their plumbing systems, leading to the metal's Latin name plubnum, from which we derive the symbol Pb. The Romans also discovered the sweet seduction of lead acetate, known as sugar of lead. Despite knowing its potential dangers, particularly to the mind, they used this substance to sweeten their wines. This practice illustrates a critical lesson. The allure of sweetness, whether in flavor, ease, or convenience, can sometimes blind us to the risks we face. The Romans recognized the dangers of lead, but they still were seduced by its utility and temporary pleasures that it provided. This early use of lead teaches us that we cannot simply ignore what we know to be wrong or harmful. It is impossible to prove a negative. Therefore, we must identify a problem. We must find something better to replace it. Just as lead blocks harmful effects of radiation, we must find ways to block the dangers we face in life, whether they are physical, mental, or ethical. Lead in the Middle Ages. A multitude of uses and misuses. The Middle Ages saw an expansion of the uses of lead. from providing structural support for stained glass windows to playing a crucial role in the invention of the movable type printing press. Lead became increasingly embedded in society. It was also used in the production of bullets, currency, and even makeup, though the latter had dangers and consequences of its own, as lead dust easily became airborne and inhaled, leading to widespread lead poisoning. Despite these risks, lead remained in use because of its utility. Those forced to work with it, such as painters and printers, often suffered from lead poisoning, but the benefits of the metal were deemed too significant to give up, much as the Mad Hatters used mercury. Oddly enough, the Christian Church outlawed the adulteration or adding of lead to wine, not because of the health risks, but because lead was considered a mere base metal, impure and thus unworthy of consumption. This historical quirk shows us that sometimes strange or seemingly arbitrary rules can have beneficial outcomes, even if the reasoning behind them is flawed at best. The Industrial Revolution, the rise of lead's darker side. The Industrial Revolution marked a turning point in the history of lead. For the first time, lead production exceeded that of ancient Rome. Despite a growing awareness of its health hazards, lead became an essential component in a variety of industrial applications. It was used in paint because it provided excellent coverage, opacity, and water resistance. Lead pipes were once again in demand, as they were easier to produce and install than the other alternatives. Unfortunately, this widespread use of lead came at a cost. Again, workers exposed to lead on a daily basis suffered from a wide range of health problems, including gout and cognitive decline. As society moved into the 20th century, the negative consequences of lead became harder to ignore. The accumulation of lead in the environment and the human body caused significant health problems, particularly in children. It was during this time that the dangers of lead in gasoline, paint, and plumbing became widely recognized. Yet, despite of these known dangers, the transition away from lead was slow at best. It wasn't even until 1920s that Great Britain banned the use of lead as an interior paint. Even then, lead remained in widespread use in gasoline because it helped prevent engine knocking, a problem that could have easily been solved through other means, but lead was easier and far more profitable solution. The modern era, a gradual shift away from lead. The phase out of lead from everyday products continued throughout the 20th century. By the year 2000, leaded gasoline was largely eliminated worldwide, and regulations were put in place to reduce lead in paint, plumbing, and other consumer products. Despite these efforts, lead continues to haunt us in certain applications. For example, lead is still used in car batteries and deep cycle marine batteries, as well as in some backup power systems. However, with the advent of newer battery technologies, the demand for lead in these areas may eventually dry up. Lead remains valuable in specific applications, such as radiation shielding, where its density and malleability make it an ideal material. In these cases, lead's known dangerous properties are carefully managed to protect human health while taking advantage of its unique characteristics. Lessons from lead: the importance of responsible use. The story of lead offers a powerful lesson in the importance of responsible use and the dangers of taking the easy path. Just because a material is easily worked and can be made into many different forms does not always mean it's the best choice. Before we embrace a new technology or material, we must consider its long-term effects on both our health and the environment. History has shown us that failing to do so can lead to widespread harm and suffering. And the cleanup or remediation can, and usually is, far more expensive than just not using it in the first place. Responsible use of materials like lead is essential, but it requires a deep understanding of the risks involved and a commitment to finding safer alternatives when necessary. As we continue to develop new technologies and materials, we must remember the lessons of lead and strive to avoid repeating the mistakes of the past. In conclusion, lead is a material with a complex at best history. It has been both a boon and a bane to humanity, offering immense utility while posing significant risks. By understanding its story, we can learn to approach all materials and technologies with caution, ensuring that their benefits are maximized while their dangers are minimized. As we move forward, let us remember that sometimes things that seem too good to be true often are, and that the easy path is not always the best one.